We've got Sarah Branan hosting today, teaching us about SkySlope. Pretty exciting.
Yay.
You ready to get started, Sarah?
Yeah.
All right, let's
kick Isaac,
it.
were you going to say something?
I was just going to say I'm excited. Let's do this. Thanks, Sarah, for doing this. And yeah, here we go.
Okay, let me get my screen shared. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay.
And me.
So Robin was very kind to let me use her SkySlope so it would look the way everyone's does instead of the way mine does. So I'm just going to start from the basics. And then if you guys have questions about specific things, because I'm sure everyone who's in here right now already knows how to start a transaction and all those kind of things, but we're just going to kind of walk through that, and then I'll take your questions. So to create a listing, of course, you click on create a listing. And then you're going to want to look up the address because we don't use the forms on there. And Isaac, I'm using your new transaction to do this. And if this is incredibly tedious and you need me to fast forward, somebody just speak up.
I mean, we have new agents that have never used SkySlope before, so this is probably helpful for them. Like
also,
I thought,
there's been times that I had that real estate agents who've been with us for a while, they were having trouble with SkySlope, and then I showed them how to do this, and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that step, and that saves me a bunch of time. So even if you guys already know how to use SkySlope, Sarah will show you the most efficient way to do it. So yeah, keep on rolling with it.
Okay, so it'll usually suggest an address, and you want to make really sure that it's the correct one when you pick it. Let's go. And this is, we're going to start with listing documents. Just grab those. Sorry, this. We'll be doing these quarterly, so that'll give me lots of opportunities to get better at this.
You're doing a great job. I mean, none of us think this part is fun. Thankfully, though, we can always hire you if we hate it too much, which some days I've definitely considered. Isaac, you've got your hand up.
That's what I do. I don't like to do this part, so I just have Sarah do it for me.
So my tip for this part is sometimes it's confusing because here we want to do the 5%, which is the total commission, and then the percent going to the selling office. But in SkySlope, you want to split it up, so it's you and them. This isn't real, so I'm just going to go faster and make updates. But you don't want to do that. This part, just for your awareness, is not for anything other than keeping track of where your transactions are coming from. It can be really helpful.
If it's like there's an option for, I think it's a business referral or something. Does that just sort of imply it came from like another agent?
It can kind of mean whatever you want it to mean. You can go in zone and see and sort through your closings and see where most of the leads are coming from, and kind of it's just a way to track where your leads are coming from. So it's for your benefit. We don't even see that. I mean, I guess when Sarah and I reviewed your files, I guess we probably could see it somewhere, but we don't look at that. It's just that you could at the end of the year say, okay, I had 12 closings this year, and sort through like where was the lead source according to what I put in the SkySlope. And it's like, oh my gosh, 7 of them came from my sphere of influence. Maybe I need to focus more of my marketing dollars at that. So it's really for your benefit to do something like that. I know Sarah's about to say it, but you know, most of SkySlope is for your benefit. All we care about SkySlope, I mean, obviously we want the information to be correct, make sure you put the address in and all that. But beyond that, it's just a place for you to store the listing paperwork. And then the purchase and sale paperwork so that we can review it. And so when we're audited, we can quickly print out all the paperwork and give it to them. And we don't have to be calling you up and like, hey, where's this? Where's this? Where's this? Right? So it's just one place that we can store it all. All the other things, for the most part, and Sarah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like filling in all the buyer's information, the contacts, and all the seller's information and contacts, we don't care about that. It doesn't really affect us. Do you agree with that, Sarah?
It doesn't affect us, but I think that it's important to have that in there for an audit in case there was a question or they needed to go back. I don't know. I believe in being very thorough, but
specifically, are you referring to though?
Like putting in the contact information. They have to at least have a phone number.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
And it won't even let you move on if you don't put a phone number in. So okay. Now, if you're not familiar with uploading to the checklist, there are a couple different ways to do it. Most of the time when you download from the MLS, when you've downloaded your document, it's going to be like one thing, and you'll put that in documents and split it up. But right now I just have a bunch of loose documents. This is how I usually do it, if this is helpful for anyone. When you go into Transaction Desk, just click on each of the items and then download them in a zipped file. And then when you extract them, you can name that file for the transaction, and then they're all in there. But you can do it however you want. So the fastest way to upload to the checklist is to just grab the file from wherever you have it on your computer and drop. So you have all these.
Isaac, I think you're unmuted and I can hear Chris in the background.
That was my bad. Muting now.
So once you have all the required items, we're gonna just put something here for the example. Don't do that in real life.
While Sarah's doing that, I just want to say that we have the required items as required most of the time. For example, the Form 17 is not required. If it's a probate deal or something like that. So if there is a document that says required, but it's not applicable to your transaction, just note that, just say probate, you know, in the comments, and then I'll make it not required. So anyways.
I can also do that for you. And if it's, you know, if you're fussy and you, not fussy in a bad way, but I'm fussy. If it's important to you to have it not just sitting there empty, let me know. I'll go in and turn it off for you. It takes like 2 seconds. So just shoot me an email. Once you have the required items uploaded to the checklist, it's going to be a pain in the butt and not do anything. So just click on any other tab and then go back to the checklist. And now you'll be able to accept a contract. That's gonna have you go back through and add all the extra information. Here's something else that sometimes confuses people. The street number is the house number.
Sarah, in the chat, Wilson asks, Sarah, did I correctly hear that you can upload a zip file with all of your loose documents if named properly and it will auto-populate to the checklist?
No, sorry. I was saying you can download that from Transaction Desk so that you have them all in one folder on your computer. It would be awesome if you could just upload them all. There is a way that I can show you after we have this set up that you can upload multiple things. I wish there was a way that I could just skip all this for example purposes, but it won't let you.
I just put in the chat, the first time I uploaded my own files, I accidentally uploaded the ones that were only signed by my clients, not the ones that were signed around. And the ones I got signed around was in one big PDF. And so I used pdf2go.com. It's pdf2, like the number 2, go.com. It's continually free. You don't need an account. It's super easy to split your documents, to take out unnecessary documents. It's an awesome resource.
Okay. And like I was saying, you don't have to have absolutely everything in here, especially for, you're not likely going to have contact information for the sellers if you're the buyers if you're representing the sellers if you're representing the buyers. Another hack is that you can go in and, oh, there it is. You can add contacts and save them so that when you need to fill them in, boom. Just going to type in the search box to search your contacts and they'll pop right up. So if you have a favorite escrow closer or lender that you like to use, it's a really good idea to save them. Let me see if I can show you how to do that. Sorry, Robin. So yeah, so you click on your name and then you'll click on your account, and then you'll come over here to directory and create a contact. And then you can put in all the information you want, hit save, and then when you go to that search bar the next time, they'll just pop right up for you. And it also works for if you're in a dual transaction with someone in our office, so you can just pop up here and grab their info. And it even works if you have a referral from an agent at another ROGTK. No, just RO. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I have narcolepsy, and when I get nervous, I start having trouble with motor function. And so I'm having a little bit of trouble talking and typing.
You are doing a great job, honey. Don't stress. All of us are cool with it. You're doing a great job.
Just explaining because I can't help it. Okay.
Wilson brought up, so I brought up the PDF2go for a splitter. Wilson said you can also do the same in SkySlope by uploading to documents and then splitting and assigning, which is what I did last time, and it was a bajillion times faster.
Yes. And this is where you would look up if there's a referring agent from another Realty One Group office. You can put that in here. Okay, and now we have our documents. So let's go over how you split the contract if you're just doing it the old-fashioned way. So you can just drag and drop. You can also use this upload documents button. Now you'll hit the split button here. And then we're just going to type in the name of the form. And then select how many pages belong to that form. And hit split and assign, and that'll attach it to the checklist for you. Now let's say you missed a page, you only did the first 3 of the 21. You can always go back and go into split again and just grab whatever pages you need. So we could do 21 again, and then let's say we just need the last page. So just grab 6 and then split and assign, and it would add that to the list. I find that handy because sometimes, you know, you just get going and things get away from you. Okay, so that's the basics. Can we open it up for questions now and see if there's anything specific people want to see? Or
Sarah, can you scroll down to the sales documentation?
yeah,
So I know I was making like a common mistake here. Can you keep scrolling down a little teeny bit? I think it was, gosh, I can't see it. Is it the pre-approval? Is that where you would put the pre-approval letter from the lender for the property?
oh yeah, right here, number
Okay.
31.
Cool. And then miscellaneous, what would that one be used for? Just additional addendums that aren't listed?
Yeah, so anything that you have extra, like let's say it's new construction, you could put your builder's addenda there. If you have, it's good to keep everything. So if you have receipts from repairs that were required by the lender, sometimes after appraisal, they'll want pictures or receipts. This is a good place to put those. So really just anything that you'd like to have in there. You can also leave those things here in the documents area. And then if you want to take everything externally, you can use the share docs. You have to select things first.
Cool.
Sarah, while you're doing that, can I'm sorry, I had a client call, so I stepped away for a second, but did you talk about the SkySlope transaction email?
Are you talking about
in
the email
here?
address where you
Yeah, the email
send
address
documents?
there at Baumgartner Place 221.
Got it, okay.
Did you talk about that?
Yeah, so this email address is super handy and it can be used on all your correspondence And some brokerages require that you do this. So you just want to copy it and then CC this, or blind CC it if you want. And then everything that you send will be added to your file here on SkySlope.
Yeah, so that's, thank you for mentioning that. So I wanted to talk about that for a second. We recently, there's been some new laws from the Department of Licensing that need some clarity. So we're reviewing it with our attorney in-house and trying to come up with if we need a policy for this. But it specifically states that transactional correspondence, which is very vague, needs to be saved if we're audited. For auditing purposes, we need to have transactional correspondence. So what we are talking with our attorney about is what exactly is transactional correspondence, because that's vague. What exactly do we need to be saving? Because in the past it used to be, we'll just save, executed documents that were signed by the seller and buyer and mutually agreed to. But now there seems to be some new laws coming out about where we're actually required to save correspondence that is directly related to negotiation, or let's just put a pin in that for now, because I'm going to let you know what is actually required later. But we're actually going to be updating our policies and procedures to say what you need to keep in documents in case we're audited. But in the meantime, just a good rule of thumb, because I was talking with Craig about this, and Craig's like, well, just tell everyone to save everything. That's classic Craig. I was like, okay, Craig, that's that's a lot. But like, a good rule of thumb is if you are corresponding with the listing broker or your buyer about something serious relating to this transaction, for example, you send you get the inspection report and the buyer emails you and says, what do you think of X, Y, and Z? And you're replying, you're saying, yeah, we should ask for X, Y, and Z and maybe a credit for this. I'm not saying right now that you're required to do this, because you're not yet. We're still working through it. But why not just CC Bumgardner Place 2221 at skyslope.com, just copy that and CC them on all that correspondence. It's not like it's going to fill your checklist. It's not like you have to go in and resort it, but that way it's there. And, the reason the Department of Licensing comes up with this stuff is not to be a pain in your butt. It's to protect you if you're sued, right? So if your client comes back to you and says, my agent did not represent me well on the inspection, you don't have to go back through your email and try and find all the correspondence where you talked about this. You already have it all saved in SkySlope, and we can easily print out the whole thing if that ever were to, God forbid, happen. So I guess all I wanted to say today, something that I'm starting to do now with my transactions is kind of like the when you CC docs at ROGTK and the other brokerage, if in doubt, do it, is really what my suggestion to everyone. Right now, it's just a suggestion. Coming soon, I'll let you know what the actual law is. But just something to think about. It doesn't hurt to over document. And so an easy way of doing that, you don't have to save all your emails as a PDF, but an easy way to do that is just BCC the SkySlope email on any email that is like, oh, this is somewhat transactional. I might as well BCC the document email. So
Isaac, what is the...
Yeah, you can,
So let's say the transaction closes. How much longer after the transaction closes would you need to have access? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can only go to court for malpractice of surgery within 6 months of having the surgery. There's like a time window. Is there something like that for getting sued for real estate stuff? Is it like 2 years or?
I'm not an attorney, but my understanding is in the state of Washington, the statute of limitations is 7 years. So, I mean, that shouldn't really scare everyone. It's not like that's likely
well,
to
my
happen.
concern
and
is
as a brokerage, we're required to hold on to everything for at least 5 years. So that should tell you that it's somewhere in that window.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah.
Correct, yeah.
My just concern would be like, let's say I had Robin at ROGTK and then was like, you know what, I'm just going to use Robin Rodriguez Real Estate at Gmail. If I shut down my at ROGTK account or something, then I wouldn't have access to those emails. But as long as I CC'd them in SkySlope, we'd be good.
That's exactly the point. That is exactly why you should be saving important emails by either saving them as PDF or saving them via this email, so that if something does happen to your email, whatever the case, you have it saved. And even if you still have your email 5 years from now and you're being sued again, knock on wood, God forbid, even if that does happen, what a pain in the butt to have to go through your emails from 4 years ago and try and find them all, right? So, you know, I'm always like flirting. I'm always walking back and forth on the line of like, okay, we want to cover our butts, but at the same time, I don't want to cause more work for you guys. You guys are busy. Everyone's working really hard. We don't have time to do, you know, to add too much more to our days. So I'm trying to make it easy. And my point is, it's pretty dang easy when you have a transaction and you're sending emails to just start BCCing the Bumgarner Place 2221 at skyslope.com.
Or whatever your transaction is.
Sorry.
Throwing that in there.
That was for this one specifically. Whatever your transaction is, that doesn't take much work. And if you don't do that, I'm not saying you have to do that yet. We might eventually, but if you don't do that, then if we get audited, I guess let's pause for a second and explain what happens when we get audited. When we get audited, the auditor is going to say, hey, randomly, just like if you're audited with your taxes, I'm going to randomly pick these 10 transactions to audit. And it could be yours. And they could say, okay, I want to see correspondence from that transaction related to the inspection. And now instead of just being like, Isaac, it's all in SkySlope. You got it all. You don't need me. I'm going to be bothering you like, hey, Christy, send me I need all these emails. And now you're like, dang, I'm busy and I got to do this. Like, make it easy on yourself if we do get audited and one of your transactions is randomly picked, and just save it all. Because it doesn't take that much effort. And Christy has a question.
Yeah, I have a question. So if we're BCC the email, so the correspondence automatically gets uploaded to here, but then do we come in and assign it to miscellaneous, or we just keep it as...
No.
Just leave it in documents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, you probably won't even see it. It does add it, but to be completely honest, I don't know where you could go and review it, if that makes sense.
Maybe Sarah, you can do a quick follow-up on that next Tech Tuesday. I'll let you start the meeting just with like a quick 5-minute, hey, just so you know, follow up from the previous, here's where this goes. Maybe you can look into that, Sarah, for the next one.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And then also you can use this in text messages. So you just add your property email address here as a contact on the text message with the other broker or with your client. And that way those upload too.
Yep.
And then Jane had a question. Can you scroll down in the checklist booth? So
I see she was asking about the FHA addendum, and there is not a space for that. There is one for the VA, but yes, you would put this in miscellaneous. That's completely perfect. Or you can always ask me to add something to the list if you have something specific that you want on there. We are able to do that, but it would be on a case-by-case basis. So when you have an FHA one, you can just say, hey, Sarah, can you add an FHA box? But you don't really need to do that. Just put it in miscellaneous.
I do have multiple lately of Form 35W because we're waiving the inspection for my investor. I've been just putting it in the 35, I think.
Yes.
Is that okay, or should we add a line item for that one?
Just put it in the 35. That's
Okay.
perfect. And then you can, what I like to do on my transactions is just go ahead and put
Like noted.
waived right here.
Oh, okay.
So then when Isaac and I come in to review, we're not looking for a 35.
Yep.
I mean, we would open it and see what it was anyway, but it's just helpful.
Perfect.
You can also make any notes about, like, say you have your legal, but it hasn't been initialed by everybody. So you just have it like temporarily uploaded, the partial one. You can make a note here like, oh, I emailed listing broker on this date, and then save it. And that can just be a note for you or for us or to keep in the file, especially a lot of times we don't get the 22E. So as long as you've emailed them, and then like Isaac is saying with this transaction email for the file, you can actually put that in your email when you request the 22E, and then you'll have the documentation that you requested it and whatever they said back. Like I recently had a broker that said, I have to give that to escrow, and that's what I did. So you don't get one. I don't know why, but.
To go along with the notes, I've been kind of doing that too. Like if I'm waiting on an agent or they're just ignoring me, I do comments and then I push save. If I want to come in and do a new comment or update where we're at, do you just start typing again and push save again? And does that delete the first comment? I guess if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. So when you leave a comment in here and you save it, there should be, I'm going to make sure. So my SkySlope looks different than yours since I'm an admin. And so some stuff I'm not sure is, okay, there it is. So in the future, it'll save all the information about your comment right here.
Okay. So we can
So
update it as it's coming. Okay.
Yeah, when you come in and make a new one.
Okay.
But always make sure you click in the box before you start typing, because I can't tell you how many times I've typed the whole thing out and it wasn't saving it.
Perfect.
Okay.
I also had a question. Oh, Isaac, was that you?
Yeah, I was just going to just recap really quick. So again, if you're just saying anything that you think, hey, if I'm ever being sued, would I want this as evidence to back me up? That would be kind of your rule of thumb. Save it. And same with text messages are a pain, but you can take screenshots, or you can also take a screenshot and text it to that email. There's ways to do it. But you know, if you're going to put it in writing and you're advising someone to do something that could affect them, you know, especially like I think about, we advise people on how high to go on an offer. If you're doing that in writing as opposed to on the phone, and they say, wow, my broker told me I have to go this high in order to get this home, and they forced me to do it. You want your email showing, no, I advised them. Here's how it, you know, so anything like that, even though that's not transactional necessarily, it's not like a part of the transaction, it was still something leading to the transaction. And more importantly, it's something that could lead to your buyer or seller coming back to you and saying you did something wrong or immoral. So if in doubt, save it. Sorry, I'm being redundant, but that's kind of how I'm going to leave that. Robin also texted me about to remind everyone about the disclosure bundle. So when you start a transaction in Transaction Desk, there's a disclosure bundle that's included in documents. We ask that you get it signed by all your clients. Technically, you don't have to have it signed by clients. You have to disclose it to clients. I've never had a client complain about signing it, but if for some reason you send them the sign and they don't sign it, then just save a screenshot showing that you sent it to them. But that is a requirement. Like almost everything we require, we don't require anything to be a pain in the butt. We do it because the Department of Licensing requires it. We're trying to, you know, be compliant and not have lawsuits. So anyways, if you have questions about that, let me know. But essentially, it's just a bundle of all these disclosures, lead-based paint. The law of agency is the one that the Department of Licensing absolutely requires you to send to every single client. Not even if technically I can reference the RCW, but we actually have to send that to anyone who we're even talking about real estate with, about representing them. You know, if you're talking about the real estate market to someone you met at a coffee shop, you don't have to say, oh, here's the law of agency. But if they're considering buying a home or considering selling a home, you really need to give them the law of agency. So just a reminder to do that. And then if you don't get it signed, if you do get it signed, save it. If you don't get it signed, show proof that you gave it to them. So yeah.
I do like a sort of training with my buyers and sellers. That's like a here's how transaction desk works. And we do like a Zoom call and I'll send them the disclosures and sort of briefly run through what they are. And I also do like the representation agreement so that I have that as a contractual agreement that they're my clients and I'm representing them.
Yes, and that's an extra good idea when you have buyers, because there's typically nothing stopping a buyer from switching agents. Like, you can do all the work, show them 40 homes, and then they walk into somebody's open house and that broker says, well, let me write that up for you. And now you've lost a client and you're not going to get paid for all those hours. So if you get a buyer's agreement, that'll cover you. I mean, they're hard to enforce, but it does give you something to a way to bring up that conversation of like, I'm working for you, so I expect you to be loyal to me.
And when you do it with the like legal disclosures too, you can just say like, these are things my office asks for me to get signed. You know, for if any reason you decide you don't want to work with me anymore, you just have to send me an email or let me know that you would like to dissolve this contract in writing, and then I'll tear it up and you're welcome to work with whoever you like. But I've
Perfect.
definitely known some brokers in our office, even on this call, who have worked their butts off for clients who backed out of nowhere. It's always someone's best friend's mom or some nonsense, you know, who hasn't had her headshot updated since 94 that takes your client, and like, it sucks. So doing it all at once and then sort of showing them transaction desk, I think that's just the easiest way to go about it.
Good tip, Robin.
Thanks, friend Aroni.
Does anyone else have any questions about features they'd like to see? I have 2 more things I'll show you otherwise, but.
Just a couple notes that I have, and again, I'm sorry, I stepped away for like 3 minutes, so if you said something that I'm about to say, I apologize. But just a reminder, when you have a listing, you start with the listing paperwork, and then you click accepted contract, and then it goes to the purchase and sale. If you just have a transaction, you just do the purchase and sale side. And then secondly, if you have a listing that you that you represent a buyer on, so you're double ending it, first off, quick asterisk. You have to notify the office, just because I don't remember the statistic, but something like 60% of lawsuits against real estate agents come from transactions where they were double ending. So frankly, I'm just going to oversee it a little more. I'm not going to micromanage or tell you what to do. I'm just going to really make sure that the paperwork's there and it's done correctly, because those are the ones that we're most likely to get sued on. So anyways, let me know if you are double ending transaction. But secondly, you have to have a transaction for the seller and a transaction for the buyer. We have to have 2 sides of the transaction. I know it sounds super dumb and redundant, because it's like, why am I putting this in twice? Literally the exact.
What Isaac is saying is you need a SkySlope file for each one.
Sorry, my bad. Yes, you need to do the listing plus press accepted contract and upload everything for the listing. And then you need to go in, because you're representing the buyer, and do a transaction with all the exact same transaction paperwork for the buyer. And the reason is, number one, it's going to tracks your transactions that way. So on Zone, you know, it shows all of our transactions and how many you've done all year and so on. It's going to, if you didn't do that, it wouldn't show that you double ended it, and so it would only show as one transaction. So you want to track it that way. But number 2, we are required to do that from Realty One Group, because they take we charge transaction fees and the compliance fee. They take a piece of the transaction fee and the compliance fee to the to Realty One Group, the corporate, and so they charge based off of the transaction. That would be 2 transactions. If you have questions about that, let me know. But just a reminder, that's a common one that comes up. And I know it's frustrating, because it's like it's all literally the same paperwork. It seems annoying and redundant, and I suppose it is, but unfortunately that's the rule.
Okay. Were there any other questions before I do my last couple tips?
Yes. When you're double ending it, is there a place you can import or copy from one file to another?
There is not. There's no easy way around it. SkySlope says that there is, but all of our settings are done through corporate. So we have to just use whatever they give us, and they have a lot of those features disabled, unfortunately. So yeah, you just have to upload it twice. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you two more things. So the first is this tasks tab. If you've never used it, it is super handy, and hopefully I'm not putting myself out of a job by giving this secret away, but so this allows you to leave yourself a reminder or to create a checklist of what needs to be done. So let's say you have an inspection, so you know there's going to be a 35R. You can put in here when that's going to be due. So we'll say it's a 5-day inspection. It doesn't do computation of time, so you have to add the days yourself. And then just put your email address in here, or whoever it is that you want to send the reminder to. And then save. And then when this date comes around and that time, of course this is already gone, but it'll send it to you. You'll get an email directly from yourself, and it'll say the 35 is due today. So that's super handy for keeping track of things. Tasks just gives you a checklist of things that need to be done. If you happen to be working with someone else, you can assign those tasks to the other person. That would happen here. So as an example, if for some reason you wanted to have Isaac or I review your file as soon as you upload the listing stuff, you could make that a task in here, put our email address in, and send it to us. So the other trick I want to show you is with this handy email address for the file. An easy way to get anything added to the file is to just set it as an attachment. There we go. And it might take a minute, but okay, it's going to take a minute, but it'll show up here in documents, whatever was attached to that email, if that makes sense.
It totally does. And if I can take another quick tangent on that, along those lines, I'm sorry, I'm the boring one talking about compliance, but we have another Realty One Group owner in Seattle who was just audited, and he was like, hey, they're doing audits a little different, and was showing me what they're looking for and what they're requesting and so on. Anyways, one thing that they asked him for that I have not seen in previous audits is proof that documentation was uploaded within 48 business hours of mutual acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I'm guilty of too. I've totally done this too, but I feel like a lot of us will procrastinate on getting our files into SkySlope. But here's the good news. The good news is you don't have to sort them on the checklist right away. I understand we're busy. We get 2 contracts accepted on Saturday, and then we have so much stuff going on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh, Wednesday, it's too late, and you didn't upload it to SkySlope. Well, at that point, an auditor, if they caught that and they realize that and they point that out, we can get in trouble. We can get a fine. So how do we avoid that? Just when you get mutual acceptance or you get listing paperwork or anything like that, you don't even have to do anything on SkySlope. Just forward the documentation to the SkySlope email and do it later. Sort it later. If you know, I mean, obviously sort it as soon as you can, but it's just such an easy way. You know, you get the 35R signed around, perfect. Send it to SkySlope. You can sort it later. You get mutual acceptance, send to SkySlope, send to SkySlope. And then you're in compliance. You can take your time a little bit. And then when you do go to sort them into your checklist, it's all there. You don't have to upload anything. So that is another rule that's on our ICA. We don't, you know, I'm not always looking for it. So I'm not always going to call you out and say, hey, you didn't get in quite within 48 hours. But just remember, if we get audited and they call your transaction and your files weren't uploaded within 48 hours, there could be consequences that are from the auditor. So just something to keep in mind. Again, everything I say like this is not me trying to be annoying. It's just trying to protect everyone so that when we do get audited, we can just cross it off the list and move on. So.
Okay, I have to give Jane a shout out. So when Jane started at our brokerage, we were like explaining to her like the compliance requirements and like what is needed for SkySlope and what have you. And Jane gets like her first property under contract and she texts me and she's like, I got my first property under contract. Like, do I have time to eat dinner and then I can upload it? And I was like, yeah, girl, you got time. Please eat some dinner. So
now at like the 24-hour mark, like, oh crap.
Yeah. And if you're feeling overwhelmed and you can't get your SkySlope set up in that 48 hours, for $200, you can have me do all your paperwork. I'll set up your file.
It's cheap insurance is what it is.
It's a good plug because I mean, I've said it before. To talk business here, we don't like make a lot of money off of you guys using Sarah. Sarah is really here. What we charge for Sarah really goes to paying Sarah. It's not like a way that if you guys use Sarah or don't use Sarah, it's not like the brokerage is going to like make a ton of money. When I plug Sarah, I'm doing it because it really is so helpful. So, and the other thing to remember about Sarah is you don't have to use her on all your transactions. If you have one transaction going, you're like, I'm good, I'm kind of slow, I can do everything, great, don't use Sarah. But if you've got 3 transactions pending and you want a little extra support, you can pay Sarah just to do your paperwork on SkySlope, or you can pay her the full transaction fee, which includes a lot more. But again, I like to point out, we don't say that because it's like, oh, we're going to make way more money if you guys use Sarah. Honestly, it's just about being of service to you guys and being able to help do that. And then we charge something so that we can, you know, pay Sarah to do it. So anyways, it really is something you should consider, especially if you're busy and you're overwhelmed and you don't have time to do everything. Just consider like throwing one transaction at her and being like, hey, just handle this one. And just do it case by case when you're busy.
For sure.
Awesome.
And if there's interest in it, maybe we could even start a service where you just set up the initial setup for the file for a little bit less, maybe. I'll talk to Isaac about that. But if you guys are interested, let us know.
Yeah, talk to me about that, Sarah, this week, and then we'll announce that next Tuesday as well.
Okay.
Question on documenting your transaction files. Does that mean, because when I set up a signing in Transaction Desk, I always CC docs at ROGTK. So that's not necessary, or you do both?
Oh, good question. It is still necessary. So that's, I can't remember. Is that an MLS rule or Department of Licensing? Well, I guess it doesn't matter. It's a rule regardless that just transactional paperwork, so that's not all correspondence, but just transactional paperwork has to be sent to both brokerages in order. No, it is MLS. It's
yeah.
Right, it just came to me. Okay, so what happened was, I'll give you a little history. What happened was back, it wasn't even that long ago, man. I think it was like 14 years ago, somewhere around there. You used to literally only be able to deliver a document via fax or hand deliver. I'm not joking. That would not
so many bike messengers.
What was that?
So many bike messengers.
Yeah,
exactly. Ungodly amount.
That used to be the way you had to do it. So then people started emailing documentation, and MLS forms did not count that as delivery, right? Because you couldn't prove delivery or whatever. So they said, okay, times are changing. We need to be able to allow people to deliver a document via email because that's how people do it now. And so then they said, okay, well, how do we know, how can we essentially add a third party almost to confirm that a file has been delivered? And so they said, okay, what if they have to deliver it to the broker and the brokerage? So then we can cross-reference it, right? If you say, well, no, I did deliver it, the 35R before 9 p.m. on Monday, you can prove it because it's at the 2 document emails as well. So sorry for the long history there, but yeah, the answer to your question is, for the sake of constituting delivery, not for the sake of compliance, you have to forward it to the document emails.
Yeah, for both brokerages. And it's not considered received unless you do that. So if you're sending an offer to someone, you have to include their brokerage and your brokerage.
Thanks for asking that question, Wilson. That's a really good question. And another one that, again, I know I keep saying it, all of our compliance, it's not because we're trying to make more work for you. It's because we want to be compliant with the MLS and Department of Licensing, so that we're all doing everything the right way. And we're not, we're keeping you protected and your clients protected. That's really why we require these things.
As someone who's staff and as like admin and an agent, I just feel like no one thinks that, Isaac. Like, you're good. We're like one of the easiest brokerages to work at it. So like, I wouldn't sweat it too much.
I'm sweating.
Okay, and
Okay,
before we
Beyblades.
leave, I just want to show you guys, if you go up here and click on this helpful little face, it'll take you to support. And when you scroll down, SkySlope has so much stuff for you when it comes to training. There are all these articles have videos, almost all of them. They also offer training through videos, so webinars. They do those really frequently, at least once a month. And they have ones for becoming an expert or really specific things. And like I said before, not everything that SkySlope offers is available because of the settings that corporate has, but for the things that are, super helpful. So this is even a better resource than I am. And that's my last little plug. Are there any other questions? Christy says no.
I'm all good. Thanks, Sarah. That
All
was
right.
really helpful. And guys, as always, you can always come to me if you have questions about SkySlope, but I will probably tell you, let's ask Sarah because she's the expert. So obviously we charge if you're going to use Sarah to transaction coordinate your transaction, but we don't charge you to ask questions and stuff. We're not, so you're always welcome to email Sarah and say, hey, I've got a question about SkySlope. And she's more than happy to help you with those things. So don't, I don't know. I just don't want anyone to ever feel like you're going to ask Sarah a question, you're going to get a bill next month. Sarah is part of our staff and she's an amazing resource. So always feel free to reach out to Sarah if you have questions about these things.
Yeah, and if you get stuck or if your checklist is acting funny or you swear you uploaded something, but now you can't find it, I'm happy to go in and look and see if I can fix it for you.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And we'll send a recap email out and then look for next Tuesday because we'll send updates on those 2 things that we talked about. And yeah, we'll see you guys on Thursday.
Next Tuesday.
Oh, actually, I just realized next Tuesday is the in-person meeting. So we're gonna, is that what you just said, Rachel?
Yes, it is what I just
Sorry,
said.
I didn't hear you. Anyway, so next Tuesday, we're going to have the meeting again at the office at 11 a.m. And we'll have coffee and pastries. And so hopefully we'll see you guys there.